NFL free agency gets underway tomorrow, so don't miss a thing for your Cleveland Browns when you're subscribed to the channel. Coming up on today's Browns Report, we're going to talk about the possibility of Odell Beckham Jr. coming back to Cleveland after the Browns went and watched his private workout. Afterwards, we're going to talk about another potential homecoming, and that is defensive lineman Dre'Mont Jones. And then we got some wide receiver targets coming at us from MKC. So a lot to go over on today's Browns Report. Let's get started with I would say the biggest topic right now, and that is Odell Beckham Jr. potentially coming back to the Browns. This has always been floated out there since Baker left, but for the first time ever, it really feels like this has even little legs to it. So the Browns were one of 11 teams who attended OBJ's private workout in Arizona this past weekend, and it seems like both sides might be open to a return now that Big Bad Baker is gone, right? Which I thought about before, and I used to think there was more to the story than just Baker versus Odell Beckham. I think it's more or less just Baker versus Odell Beckham Jr. So now that Baker's gone, maybe OBJ would have no ill will returning to the Browns and playing with Deshaun Watson. OBJ was very impressive at his workout, by the way. He's going to get signed somewhere this next week, I predict. Might not be the Browns, but I do think a team will be picking up a very talented receiver. Now, here's what Mary Kay said about OBJ coming back potentially. He may not be their primary target at receiver, but he's definitely in their universe of options, and they won't hesitate to sign him if they think he'll improve the team. So, to me, it seems like water under the bridge, at least from both standpoints, now that Baker's moved on, and it's more or less pretty obvious that Odell Beckham Jr., whatever the real feud/tiff was that led to the boiling point and the eruption of Odell Beckham Sr. posting that more or less hit video on Instagram, has, moved on. And like I said, maybe a little bit of water under the bridge. The Browns know how talented he is, and the locker room loved Odell Beckham, right? They were rooting for him and pulling for him all season long after he left the Browns. Now, while he was with the Cleveland Browns, we know that it wasn't necessarily everything it was built up to be. He played in 29 games. He had a torn ACL, just 1,500 yards, 7 touchdowns. He had some magical moments like the Cowboys game. He has that big playmaking ability and then some to him. But all in all, things did not go to plan when the Browns traded for him, and fast forward a couple of seasons later. Now, OBJ in 2021, between the Browns and the Rams, he was pretty good. More so for the Rams than the Browns. 537 yards, 5 touchdowns. He was en route to being a Super Bowl MVP potentially if he did not get injured in the first half. This locker room loved and, like I said, missed Odell Beckham Jr. We got to be honest. A reunion would be awesome for so many reasons. The memes, the jokes and whatnot. I'm in. Why not? Let's have some fun with it, right? Odell Beckham Jr. is a good player. Would love for everyone who had an OBJ jersey to be able to wear it again, because there's nothing worse than having a jersey go bad after a couple of seasons. So, yeah, I used to probably think, no, there's not even a real point to discussing this. He'll never come back anyway. Why waste our breath on this? But now it's a little like maybe there is a more than just 1% chance. So let me know. Would you sign OBJ? Type OBJ if you want him to come back, and type no BJ if you do not want to see him come back to the Browns. Next up on the show, I want to talk about a different player potentially returning to Northeast Ohio, and that is Dre'Mont Jones. So the Broncos defensive tackle is set to hit free agency. Doesn't seem like Denver's going to bring him back. Maybe they will, but he's definitely going to be testing the open market. So are the Browns going to be actively pursuing Dre'Mont Jones? Well, the rumors indicate that he is on their radar, right? He is on their wish list in terms of free agent targets. Of course, like I said, a Cleveland native, went to St. Ignatius High School and then went to The Ohio State. He offers you some flexibility on the defensive line. If he came to the Browns, he'd be a defensive end, I think, but you could bump him to defensive tackle. He's not known for his run-stopping capabilities, which we'll look at in more detail in just a second, but he does offer you the ability to be a bit of a Swiss Army knife on the defensive line, for a 4-3 defense coming from Broncos' 3-4 defense. Now, today's Browns Report is sponsored by Athletic Greens. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. You get comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition at athleticgreens.com/chatsports. I recently gave AG1 a try because I hated taking pills or vitamins and wanted a supplement that actually tastes great. I take AG1 in the morning and it makes me feel ready to take on my day. It also really helps me with starting my day on the right foot and getting into a healthier lifestyle then. I start the day with making one great choice, AG1, and more healthy decisions then follow. Covering my nutritional basis for the day also couldn't be easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. I just mix one small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing each morning. It's done. I also really like that it costs less than $3 a day, which if you ask me is pretty good. It's a really effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients, so win-win. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. Check it out. The link's in the comments and the description of today's video. One more time, that's athleticgreens.com/chatsports. Comes with these awesome benefits like promoting gut health, supporting your immunity, and boosting energy. Getting back to Dre'Mont Jones, here's what Mary Kay wrote up in her most recent article on free agency. The Browns have other veteran defensive tackles on their radar in this rich class, including Philadelphia's Javon Hargrave, but Jones is definitely high on the list. Now, Dre'Mont Jones with the Broncos through 4 seasons has been very consistent and has improved, which you like to see, right? From a 3.5 sack guy in his rookie season to a 6.5 guy sack this past season. But at the end of the day, I understand there's an allure to bringing back someone who's from the area, went to your home state college, right? But the numbers and the data, it doesn't really back up the idea of dropping a big bag for Dre'Mont Jones. His PFF rank in 2022 was 95th out of 126. Now, PFF's not the end-all, be-all, but you probably thought it would be higher than that than the way people talk about him, right? His run defense, 41.8. In fact, if we could even zoom in on the run defense, look at his run defensive grades since he's entered the league in 2019. His peak was 63.9. He is not a very good run-stopping player, and that's fine, right? He doesn't necessarily have to be if you have other good run-stoppers on this team, which the Browns don't, right? To me, it sounds like we're going to be adding another young pass rusher, and hopefully that pairs nicely with Myles Garrett, and hopefully with Garrett, and, as he gets better and better year after year, 6.5 sacks turns into 8, turns into 9, and hopefully double digits. And I'm not going to be opposed to signing a double-digit sack guy, but also this team needs run-stopping help very badly. I go back to last season, 14 straight rushes by the Falcons, 238 yards against the Chargers. They need run stoppers, not 6.5 sack performances, in my opinion. At least not at this price, what Spotrac is projecting. Which Spotrac, I think their projections are going to go out the window in 24 hours. But $17.1 million per season? That's just too big of a number, in my opinion, for a player that's not really checking the box of run-stopping abilities. And, okay, not a good run-stopper. He's got phenomenal pass rush to him. Maybe not phenomenal, right? Maybe 6.5 sacks up to 8 or 9, but not $17 million plus, right? I'm passing on paying Dre'Mont Jones if that's the price. If Dre'Mont Jones could be got for 13 to 15 million, a bit of a different conversation, right? I'm willing to buy in at that price and believe that 6.5 sacks will balloon up to 10 with Myles Garrett in the next 2 seasons. But I'm not willing to bet on that at 17 plus million. That's kind of where I draw the line. So would you give Dre'Mont Jones this contract? Yes or no? A 4-year, $17-ish million deal. I've even heard numbers of 18 plus million coming to Dre'Mont, which I just think is too rich for the production I've seen out of him so far in 4 years. Let's move on to some more free agency buzz here. Speaking of Mary Kay, she also had a really insightful article about wide receivers on Cleveland's radar. Also, I should just plug right now, I know a lot of people don't necessarily like or believe Mary Kay's a good reporter. She was all over the Baker getting out of Cleveland last year bit. So I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt moving forward. But those were 6 receivers that were outlined in her write-up about wide receiver targets the Browns could be pursuing through trade or free agency. And let's start breaking these guys down. Starting with Brandin Cooks, who definitely has a good shot to be in Cleveland next season. Last year with the Texans, just 699 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's 30-plus years old entering 2023 season. But we know that he's got the history with Deshaun Watson. And Andrew Berry needs proven wide receivers right now because he cannot afford to have 3 straight losing seasons potentially and not have Watson look like the $230 million guaranteed quarterback that Jimmy and D. Haslam signed off on. Here's what MKC said on Brandin Cooks. The Browns might not seriously consider Watson's other former Texans teammate in DeAndre Hopkins, who will turn 31 in June, but Cooks is in their sights. I'm told both would love to be reunited with Watson here. Brandin Cooks or DeAndre Hopkins, take your pick. Obviously, Hopkins gets the edge. Both are really good players, and both bring some chemistry with Deshaun Watson, which, like I kind of alluded to a moment ago, Berry and Stefanski, they're not really in a spot where they can sit back and hope that a young rookie wide receiver or an unproven-ish free agent will connect with Watson immediately. They have to get results this year. And so they might be swinging for the fences, including getting expensive veteran wide receivers. Now, what about another guy that's not going to cost as much, and he's got a rookie contract, so he's not going to bring that big of a hit, and that is Elijah Moore. I liked Elijah Moore a ton coming out of Ole Miss. 2nd-round pick for the Jets. He had a really promising rookie season. I mean, he had 5 touchdowns, I think, and about 600-ish yards. Then, for whatever reason, he kind of ended up in LaFleur's doghouse in New Jersey, and he fell down the depth chart. But Elijah Moore, I thought, was a really good rookie receiver, and for what it will cost to get him, which would be a lot cheaper than Cooks in just trade assets and contract overall, I'd rather go that direction than Brandin Cooks, but I get that Cooks has the history with Watson. Let's move on to Adam Thielen now. We'll touch on this for just a second. Yes, he played for Kevin Stefanski in Minnesota. I think it's a bit lazy, and this goes for myself too, to go, oh, this guy was with the Vikings in 2014. That definitely means Kevin Stefanski wants him. No, I don't think it works that way. Yes, Stefanski has some insight on Thielen. He's an older dude. He's 32 years old. He's been reliable pretty much, last year, but not really before that. Listen, he'd be a good slot receiver in the red zone. He's not going to offer you that much more, though. I love this next player, though. It is Mecole Hardman for the Kansas City Chiefs. For the first time in his career, he really had to miss some time in 2022 with some injuries. But beforehand, I mean, look, those are wide receiver 3 type numbers sitting behind Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce from 2019 to 2021. And he still put up solid numbers, in my opinion. I think he was just getting better until he got injured. Hardman has been my top wide receiver free agent target for a very long time. If you've been subscribed to the channel for a number of months, you'll know that I was talking about Mecole Hardman back in November, really, right? Once it first started to feel like the Browns might not be making the postseason, let's peek to the offseason just a little bit, and Mecole Hardman was sitting there waiting for us. This is not changing. He's my top guy for the Browns in free agency. Another free agent receiver is DJ Chark. Jags' 2nd-round pick that had one really good year, 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns in 2019, and then he started to miss some time. He had a solid stretch for the Lions last year when he was healthy. DJ Chark is a burner. He's got great speed. The only kind of hiccup is his slot usage has actually gone down year after year, and that's what the Browns are looking for, a slot receiver. They've got boundary guys in Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones. I want to find speed in the slot, right? Like Elijah Moore, like Brandin Cooks. Chark has the speed, but he hasn't really been a slot guy all that much for whatever reason that might be, but maybe he was just being misused in places like Detroit or Jacksonville. He's definitely going to get a lot of money in free agency with how bad the wide receiver class is. There will be overpays at wide receiver. So of the 5 receivers we looked at, excluding OBJ, because we talked about him earlier on, if you had to pick one to sign, who would it be? Sign/trade. Would it be giving up a 3rd-round pick for Brandin Cooks? I think Elijah Moore is very tempting. He's 22 years old. Wouldn't cost that much to get him. And I saw a lot of promising things in his rookie season to go, yeah, there is something there. It's more than just, 2nd-round pick, right? We got to make this deal happen. Then there's also Mecole Hardman, who my heart goes to. Moving on here, we got some more free agency buzz to get to. Next up, let's talk about Ethan Pocic. So he was really good last year. He made me eat my own words. Once Nick Harris went down, I wanted J.C. Tretter back, and Pocic was phenomenal, filling in all season long, excluding a short IR stint. But here's what MKC said about Ethan Pocic and potentially coming back to the Browns, which has been, I wouldn't say turbulent, but not steady in terms of an absolute guarantee that, yes, he'll come back. All right, let's go to the quote now from Cleveland.com's Mary Kay. But over the last week or so, Pocic's chances of returning to the Browns have increased significantly, and it's now a good bet he'll be back snapping the ball to Watson in 2023. Initially, Pocic's market value was believed to be out of reach for the Browns, but the market became flooded with good centers, and he's likely more affordable than expected. I mean, the Titans released their starting center, Ben Jones, so that's another guy in the mix and drives the price down on what was a bit of a, I wouldn't say a blimp or an anomaly, but it was not what we've seen before for Pocic when he was in Seattle. An outlier. That's the word I'm looking for. A bit of an outlier season in 2022. That's going to do it for us on today's show. I'm going to see everyone bright and early tomorrow morning. Free agency is here. I cannot wait. Make sure to subscribe and make sure to follow me on Twitter for more Browns content over the next 2 weeks or so during the free agency frenzy.